Hello, intuitive viewers. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I am just doing a quick video because I got a few downloads that I thought you might find interesting about Trump, about some political things that I thought you might find kind of interesting and you could take on board and see what you think. I also wanted to thank you so much for your condolences. We had a death in our family last week, and I just want to thank you all for responding to the community tab and praying for our family. And it was sudden, so it's rocked our world a little bit. So I thank you so much for all the well wishes, and we'll be doing services this week. So I thought I would put this out to kind of connect with you guys, but also to give you some information that I've been getting, because even when you go through times of, well, and sometimes through a lot of times of grief, you get messages and you get downloads because you are kind of connected in a different way. Sometimes the grief is too heavy, and so you won't receive things till after it kind of lifts. But if you're kind of a lot of us connect on a regular basis, and so you kind of plug in even more when something like this happens. So you continue to get messages. It's just one of those things. But I really did feel like this was stuff that I wanted to share with you, because it might be concerns that you have. And as you know, my guides are all about kind of helping us to not be concerned and to still work hard and work for a common goal, but to not do it in fear, to walk in that, in that love, that strength of love that we all possess. And so I wanted to give you that information. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that the classes that I'm doing with Debbie have the dates have changed because of these unforeseen events. So we'll be starting our leveling up mediumship class on the 5th of June. So if you haven't signed up and you want to sign up, please do, or we have spaces, so you can absolutely do that. The other class that will be available will be our mediumship start to intermediate. It's a day workshop. It's just one day, and it's on June 17th. So I'll put the information below, but it's just freebirdspirit.com. You'll see them. Just hit the book now and you can book your spot. Okay, so let's do this. So Trump, I got what I would say a download. That's just a lot of information at once, but I got that Trump was going to be, well, first of all, I had gotten that the reason that, and I've written everything down, so I'm not scribbling, but I'm looking down at my notes. One reason that Garland had brought Jack Smith on board was because he wanted to concentrate on Congress. They kind of gotten to a place where they had all these successful, cases that they brought against, like Proud Boys and Oath Keepers and all of the kind of lower level people that went to the Capitol on January 6th. And so I got a message that he's brought Jack on board so he could concentrate on Congress and whatever went on there and the kind of wider web. And then Jack Smith could zero in on Trump. And then this whole thing with the documents came up. So then that was kind of okay, I cannot concentrate on this, so you need to do this and let me know what you find. So that was how it kind of split up. At least that's what I got. And so, but what I got as a download was that as the screws are put to Trump, that he starts talking about and gives up lots of information about members of Congress and their nefarious dealings with Trump, with Putin, with January 6th. He just kind of gives it up. I also felt like his kids would kind of do the same thing, kind of start throwing people under the bus. And I felt also, and this is all entertainment purposes only, I'm just listening to the voices in my head, but allegedly that he'll kind of start talking to save himself, because of course he's an old man. He doesn't want to go to jail for the last 20 or 1 year of his life. He doesn't want to do that. So he's going to say and do whatever, right? Just to get out of trouble. The other thing that, so that is what, the other thing that came up for him was that he might flee after that, like kind of knock his charges down and then flee and get out of town. So that's what I got. And I don't know if this is the reason it's coming in is because it's a plan he's considering or he's thinking about, because he usually doesn't think that way. Usually he thinks, I'm going to get out of this. My lawyers will take care of it, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if this is just my guide showing me the way this could, like the kind of where the energy is going and how he is and that kind of thing, kind of reading the room, or if it's actually something he's thinking about and contemplating and kind of planning in case he gets in that position. Same with his kids. The other thing I got is that Rudy kind of does the same thing. So here are these two old men that don't want to go to jail forever. And Rudy, I feel like the thing about him is I felt like he had proof, like he had tapes and he had phone messages and texts and things like that, like things, actual things to back it up, what he was saying and presenting to prosecutors. The other one was Mark Meadows. When we were in Sedona, we did like a live with Linda, and so where she couldn't turn off the camera, and we were kind of all there, and you can see me kind of drift off. I don't know if it's obvious, but at the time I kept getting Mark Meadows. I kept seeing his face and being like, what is going on with him? And as the week went on, I started to get information that he was sort of planning the same thing. Like, I have all this information to give up if I get into trouble. And so what you've got basically is 3 squealers here, but also not surprising in the way that we know, right, that these people are, when you have bullies, you have cowards, right? So they really aren't, they're all talk. They are all bluster, no bite, unless they have other people doing their dirty work, right? And they're running out of people to do their dirty work because they're going down. So that is what I have. And I also want to remind you of the original vision of the King Kong. Trump is supposed to fall, and we are supposed to witness this because it's part of our understanding what's wrong with our system and revamping it and kind of understanding our country in a different way and kind of facing our past. And so that's why you have people like Ron DeSantis and people like that are trying to push back on looking at our history, because we are at a crossroads here, and in a way they're making it more of a thing so that we're more aware of it. So whether they know it or not, they're helping to push things more quickly and making people more aware because of the ridiculous things they're doing, right? So that's what I had for that. And then I also got with Putin, I have had this feeling for a while, and before he entered Ukraine, I don't know if you remember, but I kept feeling like he feels like time's running out. We could think it has to do with his health, but I don't think it does. For some reason, I feel like there's something else we don't know about going on behind the scenes. I kind of feel like there's a threat there, or there's a feeling there might be a revolution or something there that I can't quite put my finger on, that he is very aware of and worried about and wants to beating the clock basically on this. So, but what I got with him was that he's really, again, in that the reason I bring it up is because he's in that frame of, this needs to move along because I'm running out of time. And I do feel like we're going to see an uptick, because I saw the Kremlin being hit, right? So, and I don't think it was that little drone. I think that there's plans about ramping up this dissident thing, because in my dream, that's what it was. It was dissidents, and they had hit the Kremlin. And so I feel like there's a ramping up of more acts like that. I even saw a car bomb going off. So allegedly for entertainment purposes only. I saw something like that as well. So I feel like there's a ramping up of dissidents causing trouble within Russia. And we want to pray for the Russian people, because we don't want, again, we don't want, we know that the people in the higher up positions, they never fight. They never risk anything. They're always just sending people to do their dirty work. So we hope that dissidents are aware that they don't want to hurt civilians. They don't want to hurt their own people. And I think they are aware of that. If they hurt anyone, it will probably be part of the Putin regime. But I feel like they're cognizant of that. So hopefully that will, they'll have an idea of how to get their message across, but not hurt civilians in the process and hurt their cause or their push. I do feel like they're pushing for the people of Russia to be like, okay, enough of this. We're freaked out. We don't like this. We don't want this anymore, and kind of helping them to rise up. I do feel like there's a push with dissidents because they want to get people out of prison that may be close to death, or maybe they feel like are more in danger right now. People like Navalny, other political prisoners that are there. So I feel like there's a ramping up, and we're going to see more chaos or chaotic events inside Russia. Okay, and I just saw a bunch of people running. So I feel like there might be some, I feel like it's to push people forward and to be like, we don't want this. We're done with this. We don't like it. So there's that. So I feel like that's what we may see more of. And they really want to get rid of Putin is their goal. So I hope that they're smart enough to freak people out and get them to move, but not hurt anyone. I hope they're smart enough to do that. And what I was also getting about them, about these dissidents or these people that are kind of against Putin, is that they were doing a lot of things within journalism, but because they've shut down a lot of journalism, they're going to more extreme tactics. And so to get people to move, because they were trying to use the written word to get people to move and to people to understand that Putin's just taking your money, he's putting it into his castles and his railroad and whatever. But now they don't have that. And so they're using other tactics to try to wake people up. So that's what I was getting. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of end on was the DeSantis. I saw him running from a spotlight, which is an interesting image, right? So I feel like there is something that's going to come out about him that he's going to be trying to hide from. And the spotlight's going to be chasing him. People are going to be wondering about this, wanting to know. So there is, and I kind of feel like it's old. I don't feel like it's something new, but I feel like it's something damning. It may even have to do with, and this is just speculation on my part because I didn't get this as a message, but it could have something to do with the whole Gates thing. Because remember I was talking about how I felt like someone intervened on Gates's behalf within Florida, and it was kind of a crummy deal kind of thing, and it was kind of a pushing things off, to save him and to help him. And so some of that may come out, and that it may have to do with that. It also may have to do with COVID. So that's what I was getting. The other thing about this is that I want you guys to remember, I mean, if Trump is the nominee, which I haven't seen that, I don't know why I haven't seen that, unless my guys are just like, you don't want to be freaked out by this, but because I do think it will be, if he's the nominee, it will be traumatizing for us, right? Because we went through trauma with this man. COVID was traumatic for everyone. And it was the way that it went in our country was his fault. So I'm just saying it as it is. It was his fault. It wouldn't have been that way had even Pence been president, I don't think. I feel like he just let it run rampant because he thought it was going to kill Democrats. So, or kill people in blue states for some reason. So I feel like with Trump, I feel like he won't win. He was not going to win no matter what. But I do feel like, if this happens, we just need to keep our wits about us and move forward, because there just isn't enough people to support him. There just isn't. A lot of people went to jail. A lot of people died of COVID because of him. A lot of people have turned against him. They just don't want the drama anymore. There just aren't enough people to get him into power. So what they will do is a lot of power grabs, trying to grab power. But the thing is, and this is what my guides have kind of emphasized, is that they never fully got a hold of our courts. So anything that happens that they try to do, they try to negate, they try to steal, is going to have to go through the courts, and that's where it will be decided. And that is what will win the day. It was a plan, but they didn't get to it. So that's a thing. So I hope this helps. And I hope this, helps you to know that really we just need to do what we've been doing, which is just keep going forward, keep walking forward. Don't get exhausted. Don't get tired. Vote, help people to vote, get more involved, send money, do all the things we've been doing because it's been working. The other thing I wanted to touch on was Erdogan. So remember we talked about the fact that if he gets it, it was a stolen thing. So we know that that's what people like him do. And that's also the mode that Republicans are in now. And I don't want to be like, the Republican Party is not, in and of itself, just nefarious. It's the people that are in there that have corrupted it. It's completely corrupted now, as we know. And so it's people trying to steal power because they can't win it. And they know that now. They know it after election after election after election. There's no way they can. They don't want to back up from anything. They're out and proud now that they are bigots and don't like women and want to roll back all these different, rights that we have, LGBTQ. They don't want anything to do with it. They're just jerks on every level, guns, everything. So they can't win on any issues now. So they're just going to go full, as my husband says, full fascist. And so, with Erdogan, the reason that can happen is because they're in power. Even though they're not a majority, they're in the power, so they can just keep making it happen. And so that's what's happening. And so that's something that will be avoided here. But I did want to touch on that because we talked about Erdogan, and it's such a shame because the leader that would have come in was going to change things for the better. That was shown, like it would be so good for Turkey. It would be so good for the world. But it just didn't happen yet. As we know, free will, freedom of choice, free will is a spiritual right, a divine right. And so anything that works against that or pushes against that or tries to strip people of that, it will have a lifespan because, again, those those heavy energies can be pushed forward and roll over things for a certain amount of time. but not forever. Eventually they break down because it's just, they don't have spirit backing it up. And that's the ultimate as Gary Zukav would say, authentic power. We have this earthly, low level kind of power. And then we have authentic power, which comes from our spirit. And that is what lasts and what goes on. And it's frustrating in the meantime. It can go on for 100 years, it can go on for a really long time, but this is where everything is always moving, because we're meant to have freedom. And the goal, as I understand it from my guides, is that we work through all of these things and grow as spiritual beings in the process, kind of use it to our benefit to grow and understand ourselves differently as spirits. But that once we have worked through all of these things, once it's like, oh, this war thing isn't really serving us anymore, so we move on from it. And that's the natural progression of things. But we work through them, we experience them to understand them and ourselves more fully. And at some point, all of this kind of negativeness, the heaviness, and it's so different and experimental for spirits that we kind of get lost in it when we're here. And we kind of, depending on what we're trying to do, we might be more involved than not. So we're working through and we're coming to the end of a lot of these energies, for lack of a better word, these experiences. So we'll be moving out of them. And that's what we talk about when we talk about moving to the fifth dimension. It's just a different consciousness. It's a different way of thinking and being. A lot of us are already moving into that. And we have moments where we move out of it, but because we're still in a 3D world and we're still affected by things and people around us, but we're most of the time moving into that and into that place of everything's fine, everything's okay, my guys have my back, it's all okay. This is just it's a kind of illusion. It's a kind of playing field where our kind of playground where we're learning and growing as spirits. And when you have that knowledge, you can shift into that consciousness a little more easily. That's all. So I don't know why I'm talking about all this, but I think it's relevant to what we're seeing, and also to dispel fear, to understand that this is actually going somewhere. This is not just out of control and everything's out of control. It's moving in a direction. It's just that when we're up against it, we can have where we kind of move back and then move forward and then move a little bit back and then move forward again. That's the way it is on the earth plane. But eventually what the goal is to have this as a place where we just come and have a different kind of experience, and that the negativity isn't here anymore. But it's a place to experience these things and work through them. But eventually we will, and it will be like, oh yeah, we've already done that. We don't need to do that anymore. And we move past it, and then this planet becomes more like a place we can just experience a different kind of just have a different kind of experience as spiritual beings. And they just said, we've started over before. But we're getting to a point where we've kind of passed a point of where we may have gone backwards too far, and we're moving forwards again. And it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We're moving forward. So even though it's the illusion can be we're moving backwards or things are being rolled back, we're going to be moving forward. So just try to keep that in the forefront of your mind, and know that some of this stuff it may look a certain way, but it's temporary. Okay. Like some of the rights we're seeing stripped, some of the things, it's not that it's not happening, but it's a temporary set rather than something that's just going to degrade. And we have to keep our thinking that way as well. And I feel like my guides are always trying to not have us move into fear, because that doesn't do anybody any good. They want us to just move forward. We're doing what we're doing, and we're becoming more enlightened, and we just need to move forward with that, and we'll all be okay. So, all right, guys, I hope that everybody has a great week. I will talk to you again on Thursday Night Live next week. If you're in the Intuit Club, I'll see you on Friday for our mini readings. And you don't have to be present for your question to be read and for me to do a mini reading for you. You can just put it in as soon as it comes up as a video. You can go in to YouTube and just put your question. And if you don't see it, or it doesn't come up, or you're worried about it, just send me an email and say, this is my question for the mini readings. And that's it. Okay. All right, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.